because I listened to the Big Ben show, and I haven't seen it yet, but it is very rare that two people I get along with and like a lot completely disagree. My friend Schroeder, who is a comic book nut and a sort of a genius, lives down in Tennessee now. He left California. He liked it a lot. He got to me before you did your podcast. So I wrote to him a note about this saying, boy, Ben didn't like Superman at all. And he wrote back, he relies on the authenticity argument, which is bogus. Everything he complains about has been true at some point. Now, Gunn did mess up Jor-El, but I don't care. It made for good drama. As to the Israeli angle, I view it as a war generally, not the issue specifically. Who the heck knew serious Jewish people and people over 60 knows Ben Gurion? Soups was inspirational in that he would call the average current youngster to a higher standard that is common today. Would it fall short of the standards of my youth? Yes. Would it be a vast improvement over current standards? Yes. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, I just strongly disagree. And so let me just run through it quickly. First off, I just should say, in terms of background, I grew up loving Batman a lot more than Superman, but the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series were daily Saturday viewing for me and my siblings when we were growing up. Love those iterations of them, and also so I'm post the Richard Donner, Superman kind of view. At the same time, I just think that Gunn fundamentally gets Superman wrong. And I think that he turns him into essentially one of his typical Marvel, quippy, kind of dorky heroes, when Superman needs to be this iconic, epic, on the Mount Rushmore kind of pedestal hero. And because Gunn doesn't really like that and doesn't like that typically in most of his superhero depictions, that's just not something that he wanted to do with him. And so he turns him into this kind of stumbling, bumbling guy, spends the entire time getting beat up. The very first thing that happened after I left the movie theater, which was on opening night, there was a young group of Latino men, probably in their 20s, who go to the bathroom afterwards, and immediately they started talking, why was he so weak? Like, what was wrong with him? Like, why was he constantly getting beat up? Why was he constantly making mistakes and that kind of thing, stumbling over himself? And I just think that this is kind of a Silver Age depiction of Superman that I do not think is right for our times. I think what we need is something that is an ideal to aspire for. And all the things, by the way, that I ran in my episode of the Big Ben Show, all of those quotes are from the comics. Those are all, like, every single quote that I ran.
Oh, I thought it was a fabulous episode. I also thought, oh, my gosh, if these two ever meet, Schroeder and Dominich, they're never going to stop talking about comic books.
Well,
because
I would love to talk to him about it. I don't know him, but I'd love to talk to him about it. And here's the thing. This is just a fundamental difference of opinion about what Superman is supposed to be. If you want Superman to be this kind of human version of an alien who's like stumbling through his life and calling himself a jerk in one of the scenes and is dependent on his dog to save him over and over again, that's a vision of Superman. It's just one that I happen to disagree with, and it's one that I also
let me give you the point too, because I set off John. Schroeder went crazy after this, and he sent me a second text after he'd listened to you again. I think he said Ben is dead wrong on the portrayal of Jonathan Kent. This pause is very authentic to a small Kansas farmer, very inarticulate, but his very minimal speech to Clark of UBU is based on a lifetime of example that taught the boy how to be a man and to be a hero. If there's a manhood issue these days, it lies in no small part in the fact that we talk it to death, but we don't do it. In all the years I knew my paternal grandfather, a Minnesota small farmer, I could write down everything he said on a sheet of paper. When I talked to my dad about that fact, he just said, yep, Pa Kent is inarticulate in this film, but there are many ways to teach besides with words.
But see,
Ben Dominich, over to you.
This is a difference of opinion, because my vision of what Pa Kent is supposed to be is Hank Hill, which is kind of the pillar of his community, the kind of subtly smartest member of his friend group, the one who actually is capable of. I mean, I found it insulting, for instance, that the things that they had on that farm were all rusted and like falling apart. The Pa Kent is the kind of guy, from my perspective, who is what in the old days when I was growing up in the South, we called nice people. Who is nice people? Nice people are the people who do not have a lot, but they take care of everything that they have. They don't have fridges on their front yards. They don't have, rusted out chairs and things like that. They take care of they may have one nice shirt. That shirt is ironed and clean when they go to church on Sunday. And that's, to me, what Pa Kent is. He's this vision of, a stoic American responsibility that is infused into Clark from a young age and makes him a truly inspired American. That's where that comes from. It's the kind of thing that says, hey, shut up, stand up, take off your hat. The national anthem is playing. That's the thing to me that was important, that was completely missing. I understand the idea that that he's not going to be some kind of eloquent thing, but it's less the eloquence than the fact that this guy looks like a schlub. They don't even know the right word for a television. It just doesn't.
I haven't seen it yet, but now I'm caught between competing visions. And I went to see F1 and I loved it, but now that is. Are you engaged, by the way, in a debate ongoing online about Superman after the Big Ben episode?
I have mostly been doing it via text. I have a long couple of text chains with friends, and there's differences of opinion. Some people really like it. Some people do not. I think actually that my producer, Dylan, who had not seen it yet when I did the episode, but is a huge fan of superheroes, will have seen it by next episode. So I want to talk to him about it because I kind of suspect he'll like it, in part because he's about 15 years younger than me. But to me, this was James Gunn even gave an interview where he said Chris Pratt could have been up for this role if he had been a little bit younger. And to me, that's what he did. He made a Superman movie that's like Chris Pratt from Guardians of the Galaxy, and I like that character. Star-Lord's a great character. He does great work with him, throughout that trilogy. But the simple fact is, he is not Superman. He's a different kind of superhero. They're different roles he played.
Galaxy, by the way, is my second favorite series of movies, other than the Avengers trilogy.
The two Guardians 2, I think, really stands up in retrospect as being one of the best entries in the series, in part because that emotional beat with Michael Rooker is just, it actually hits, and you get a lot of drama, I think, there that really works. But again, this is a James Gunn movie directed by James Gunn, made by James Gunn, and star and as his brother in it. He always has to throw a role to his brother to make sure that he gets that SAG card.
Ron Howard, Clint Howard. Yep.
Yeah, my point is just this. I think this was a movie about a character who is not Superman, and that to me is just the indictment I would have.
I thought I was a comic book guy, but you and Schroeder, there's a world out there of people who.
I'm happy to sit down with him with my old copy of All Star Superman and The Dark Knight Returns, and have a whole debate about.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.